You've heard it 1,000 times. You've probably said it 100 times. You can't change another person. It sounds reasonable, doesn't it? It almost sounds mature and responsible. But here's the problem. That advice is only half true. Because while you can't control another person, you absolutely influence them in every interaction, every tone, every boundary, every silence. And if you've been in a painful or even toxic marriage, you've probably just been told to, just work on yourself while quietly wondering, but doesn't what I do affect him too? The answer is yes, profoundly yes. And today I want to show you how that influence works, biblically, psychologically, and practically. So you can reclaim your peace and your power even if he never changes. So that line, you can't change him. I want to be clear, it came from a good place. It was meant to stop people from begging, fixing, or chasing love. And that's important. You can't force transformation. Therapy, from decades ago, codependency was, the buzzword. And so the codependency recovery movement really enshrined this idea, you can't change him, into the vocabulary, into the vernacular. But the problem is, and this is super important, that phrase also teaches helplessness. It implies your behavior has no impact. It implies that you live in a bubble where your words, your energy, or your presence doesn't matter. And how frightening is that, actually? And not to mention, it's simply not how human beings work. We're relational organisms. We're wired for mutual influence. We've been wired to be influenced, to be permeated by people around us, the relationships around us. When you stop to think about it, every time you walk into a room, you shift the emotional temperature one way or another. Every time someone else walks into a room where you are, the emotional temperature shifts. See, every breath you take, every pause you hold, every look you give, it sends data to the other person's nervous system. Unconsciously, usually, right? So out of sort of conscious awareness, but it absolutely happens. It's absolutely real. Hey, click on the subscribe button and the like button. That helps you to get notified of fresh content on this channel. It also helps many other women find this content for their journey. So you're giving a gift to women you might never meet. You can also click the link in the description down below to join our Detox Your Marriage Skool community, where you can discover many more resources to help you on your journey. And you can interact there in a private space with other courageous women on the same journey. So when you think about it generally, if you can't change another person, why do marketing companies spend billions with a B, cranking out advertisements? Especially coming into Black Friday and the holiday season, billions of dollars are being spent to influence you. We're not in election season right now, but a year ago we were just in the hot time of the presidential election. Billions of dollars to influence voters one way or another. So don't give me this, you can't change another person, or else those billions of dollars wouldn't be spent. But let's get into it. Neuroscience, when we come down to relationships in the home, neuroscience calls this influence, the science of influence, co-regulation. It's an invisible exchange between two nervous systems, but it's absolutely real, and we call it interpersonal neurobiology. If one person's nervous system is calm and steady, it can actually downregulate the other's anxiety. Contrast, if one person is chaotic and reactive, it can trigger the other person's threat response. This isn't mysticism, okay? This is biology. Dr. Stephen Porges, you may have heard of him. He's the sort of the innovator behind the polyvagal theory. He explains it beautifully. He says, safety is not taught through words. It's felt through nervous system cues. We feel one another. So when you shift your own emotional state, when you breathe before you speak, when you respond instead of react, which I get it, that's hard to do without coaching, without practice. But when you do that, breathe before you speak, respond instead of react, then you're already changing the field around you. You're influencing how your partner's brain is perceiving you, and often how he's going to behave in response. And here's the nuance that is actually the game changer. You're not changing him through control, telling him, pick up his socks or don't be such a jerk. You're changing the relational environment through presence. When you stop and reflect, Scripture has always understood this. It's just been hiding in plain sight. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. That's not about people-pleasing. It's describing the neurobiology of de-escalation 2,000 years before modern science caught up. Jesus also said, you're the light of the world. And we often understand that in the context of evangelism. Sure, yeah, I get that, totally. Think about it. Light doesn't force, it reveals. Light transforms by simply being what it is. And that's what influence is. You become light, clear, calm, consistent, and that light naturally exposes dysfunction without you having to argue it into submission, right? Like, how has that gone for you when you tried it? Your peaceful presence, it's not weakness, sit down for this, it's spiritual authority. You're not trying to change him, you're allowing truth to rewire the relational space between you. The old paradigm says, detach, you can only change yourself. Right? That's, in the world of codependent recovery. This new paradigm says, lead with sovereignty. Your change creates ripples. In psychology, the family systems theory calls this differentiation. It's the ability to stay connected while maintaining your own center. Right? Just because he's upset and tantruming doesn't mean that you have to be joining that circus, emotionally speaking. You can maintain your own center and stay calm. When you stop arguing, but also stop walking on eggshells, when you refuse to match and join his chaos, something in the system starts to shift. He may resist it at first, sure. He may even escalate for a while in a transition period. But most importantly, you've stepped out of the dysfunctional dance, and that's worth it. And that new energy over time alters the choreography of the dance. That's what real influence looks like. It's not manipulation. It's about leadership of yourself. And that invites others into alignment. Influence begins with sovereignty, with self-sovereignty, not emotional shutdown. But calm leadership of your feelings, your pace, and your boundaries. So it sounds like this. Here's some lines. Not that I'm teaching you tactics, that's not the point here, but I want to illustrate. I'm not raising my voice. I'm not going to defend what doesn't need defending. I'm not going to participate in chaos. See, when you do that, you're no longer feeding his ego, but also you're no longer piling more firewood onto his fire of fear. You're teaching him at a deep unconscious level that safety and truth exist and live inside you. Here's the paradox. When you stop trying to change him, your very steadiness begins to change him. Not because you demanded it, but because you became a different signal. You were broadcasting a different signal from your nervous system. It's like a sanctuary of peace that calls everything false into account. I need to tell you, for over 10 years, I was a professor in a graduate school counselor training program. So I was teaching, aspiring counselors and therapists how to do counseling and psychotherapy. One of the things that we as faculty needed to teach those students is that the more you try to push your client to change, the less likely they're going to change. So you need to develop, what we told our students, you need to develop a non-possessive warmth, being with them, being with the client, taking a clear, grounded stance. I don't need you to change, but I'm going to show you the pathway that you can choose to take or not. When students learned that, they were on the road to success. If a student didn't learn that, we invited them to reconsider their calling, because it never works, burns out the therapist, and it's incredibly frustrating for the client. So that's what I learned in my years of being an associate professor of counseling at a seminary housed in a graduate school. Listen up close. Faith doesn't mean passive endurance. It means trusting that alignment with God's truth has power. When you act from that still, anchored center, you're cooperating with divine law, not human emotion. And in that space, change happens. Frequently in Him, but always in you. Right? Remember, Romans 12 reminds us, don't be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. And that goodness isn't niceness. That good isn't niceness. That good is grounded, holy clarity, and maybe kindness instead of niceness. It's the refusal to let someone else's dysfunction define your state. The phrase, you can't change him, isn't entirely true. You can't control him, sure, but influence him. Every moment, every choice, every boundary, every breath, you are influencing him for better or for worse. And when you learn to wield that influence with wisdom, you stop reacting and you start leading. That's when real healing begins, whether he joins you or not. If this message speaks to your heart, I invite you to take the next step. Man, oh man, don't walk this path alone. Join the Detox Your Marriage Skool community, where faith, psychology, and sisterhood meet together to help you build peace from the inside out. And if you're ready for personalized clarity, if you are committed to change, you can book a 15-minute quick start call. The link is down below in the description to do that. It's a brief strategy session, totally free. There's nothing for sale. That the strategy session helps you to see your next right step clearly. So the links are below. Because healing your home starts with healing your presence. That presence is powerful. Take the next step.